SJVC. We got a couple of our alumni here, a couple legends of the hallways, as they say. I'll let them introduce themselves. Go ahead.
Nicholas Leamy. I work with Power Systems Testing Company. I graduated a little over a year and a half ago with an associate's degree, and now I'm just returning back for Joseph's podcast.
Okay, don't call me Joseph.
We're equals now.
Yes, you're right.
Hi everyone, I'm Phil Garcia. I also graduated a little bit over a year and a half ago. I did it just for the sake of completion. And I also work for Power Systems Testing Company. I was hired straight out of college, which I'm very grateful for, and had no lag time between looking for a job. And yeah, just returning just to see how much things have changed, which they have a lot, and for the better. It is also kind of funny seeing all the stuff that we built.
Right.
We built had a tough time doing it, having to do a whole day for just for that. And now everyone has, it's all painted and nice.
Everything's nice for them.
Everything's nice.
Yeah. You're all welcome.
All our trials and tribulations. Display. Never the hell mind all the blood and sweat that we shed making those things.
Oh yeah. All for you guys. With that, let's start there. I want to talk about day one, and we can even start with day one with me. I wasn't here when you guys first started.
You were for me. Your first
day
mod?
Was your first mod.
Day as well, too.
Was that true for you as well?
No,
I thought you were already here.
No. I was after him.
Oh, so your first day was your first mod. Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
And you were starting that first day too.
That was my first day. So we
there.
started the same day.
I was literally sitting at the same spot right
yeah.
here.
So we are in a new location right now. Usually we do the podcast in the power room. This is actually Nick's old seat, so I wanted to bring it on home to him. This is where he started. I sat right over there my first day.
Circle moment.
Yeah, what was that like? Let's talk about that. What was that like?
Well, for my first day, I got a fat F for not putting my name on the paper. You had a pop quiz about the different sections in the NEC, and you would task us with remembering what those sections were off the top of our head for each chapter, and knowing how seeing how that I was the first one that completed that, I was so excited to shove it in everyone else's face and go, look, I completed this first. And sure enough, the next day I come back, I got a fat F for not putting my name on that.
And every day he would hound me, can I make it up? Can I make it up? No, you cannot make it up.
Whole course, because that was the only F on all my for that whole course right there.
Yeah.
I had not gotten anything under an A for every single assignment during that module right there. So that was I didn't take it to heart really. I thought it was kind of funny, like I figured I'm gonna make this up, and I think it was a great learning experience because I do tend to rush myself and whatnot, and after getting that, it kind of like brought me down to earth and also made me realize, hey, there's sometimes that in the professional world you have to take a step back, take a deep breath, and understand when you need to slow down and realize when you're going too fast, because it's the details that trip you up. And in this industry, we test power equipment and whatnot, transformers, switch gears, relays, all types of things. And if we don't put in our diligence and double check every single thing that the electricians are installing, then that could be the difference between a working piece of equipment or a non-working piece of equipment, or something that is working safely or not safely, something that can really damage somebody. So it's just, the first day I was hit by the realization that, hey, look, sometimes you just gotta take a step back and,
What was that first impression like?
Well, it was a funny first impression. I was upset with myself because I can't really hold that on you. There's a lot of other teachers that would have sat there and gone, you know what? I understand it was you. I already knew it was you. I'm still going to give you an A. But I think you still giving me that F and telling me, hey, look, you'll make it up and everything. You'll be fine. It's a learning lesson. I think was better for me, because that also tells you, hey, kind of like made me think about that, because there's a lot of times where you don't get second chances,
Right.
and especially being
Right.
in this trade, you have to sit here and think things through and double and triple and quadruple check things with being in the electrical industry, because that could end up damaging equipment that could cost upwards to millions of dollars,
Right.
or costing people their lives. So
Right.
it was definitely one of those moments where it's like, okay, yeah, it's just a test, it's just a quiz, but you setting that kind of momentum coming in, I think is great, because there are many other teachers that do not try to push their guys to kind of take responsibility for their actions,
Right.
and understand that they need to hold themselves accountable for themselves and hold themselves to higher standards.
Absolutely. Absolutely. What about you, Phil? What was your first impression day one coming in?
I guess I kind of have like 2 day ones, because there was the week before when it was just introducing everyone.
Yeah.
And I remember it was me and Joseph, and we were the ones partnered up to like, oh, how would you react to people giving you
For the pillars.
Yes, pillars.
Yes.
And I remember specifically, me and Joseph always remembered it was can you let other people affect your emotions, something
Yeah.
like that. And we said yes, but it's up to you to control, or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you said it in front of everyone. I think like the principal, whatever, the deans, everything. You're like, oh, I'm not gonna lie, this is it's like, you can control yourself. I'm not gonna let someone else control me. All right. And then like, okay, we get
You're
it.
right, but wrong at the same time.
Like, and then me and Joseph were just sitting there in front of like what, 40 people, just like, all right, we're done. And then I was like, damn it. And then so I was having night classes, and I saw all the teachers, so I didn't know exactly who was teaching me yet. And then
What was your first month? What was the first one?
first one would have been condo building.
Condo bidding. Okay.
And but yeah, so still with the pillars, I just remember like, oh, this person looks a little bit easier, this one looks a little nicer, and then okay, maybe they're the night teachers.
Yeah.
And then you're like, honestly, I will hustle you. And then I'm like, he's a say day teacher. Me and my night guys, I was like, ah! So I was like, damn it. So I of course I have the hard teacher. And then for my first day of conduit vending, that one actually I thought was in a little bit over my head when I first got there, because I remember Connor and them already had a module review.
Right.
And I'm still like just getting into NEC, and then we had that same quiz that you had.
Yeah.
And then after that, we had just more talk about the NEC, and then just Connor and Javi and all these other guys like were answering your questions about the measurements, where it has to be, the limits, and all that stuff. I'm like, how do they know? Like, they're not taking a second to answer. They're like, I got it. And I was
Just
like,
osmosis.
dude, I was like, how do they know?
Right.
And then I learned, it's because they had you before.
Right.
They had that class, and they was kind of like just doing it again for the NEC a little bit. So actually, my first day, I was like, I might legitimately be in over my head. I might need to like see how this goes, and then maybe drop out if it comes to it. Maybe I'm not ready.
Right.
Yeah.
And especially with condo bending, that one felt the longest out of all. Even with math, I mean, I loved math, so every day didn't feel that bad. But condo bending, my first module, was tough, because I thought I was okay with condo bending, but this was actual, because I did solar, and it's a little bit more like, okay, if you mess up, just go grab another one, and do the same thing over until you kind of get it right. Because also, it doesn't need to be perfect, but for here, it needs to be perfect. We had the wall that's in the other room. Exact pinpoint measurements, basically, or else it doesn't work. It doesn't look the same. And you would have us do cut the same pieces, and they need to be bent the same. And if they're not, this one doesn't count. Go do that one again.
Right.
And I still remember, I was like, for at least half the class for 2 weeks, I was always the last one. Always the last one.
Yeah.
And I still remember too, that was also the same module where my account got locked up, and I couldn't log in because it was just a stupid loop. It was like, oh, use your phone to get your code. It didn't send it to my phone. It's like, okay, try a new way. Sends it to my phone. Well, I don't have that phone no more. I was frustrated, couldn't sign in. I remember telling Huber, I go, hey, man, I'm just really stressed out. can I get like a printout and I'll turn it in, I'll worry about what I'm doing tomorrow. He goes, yeah, don't worry, I know the guy who knows the class. I was like, oh, you do? Really? And he's like, and I didn't realize after I said it, it's him, obviously. And then ever since that day, I think that's when everything just went like shot up. Like wasn't too scared in the class. I started making friends in the class. And then at the end of that first module, I was like the third person done with the most complicated bends.
Yes.
And like I was early too, like 30 minutes to do it, math and bending.
Yeah.
I think after that, you know, I was just watching everyone do it, how they do it, and then it was like, wow, like from where I was to now, like that's already a big jump. So that was like my roller coaster of emotion just with the first 3-4 weeks. First month of it is.
Because I know that I was watching you struggle. I was like, man, this guy hates coming here. He hates it here. And I'm just like, man, I hope he gets over it. Because I know I've given you a lot of razz about you coming from solar. Yeah. And I would even tell you, like, hey, there's not a 12 by 12 panel you can put over that.
Looks good for my house.
There was a turning point. And then also, because I remember this, especially for conduit, there was moments when you knew you were ahead of the class, so now you start looking over for other people. You know what I mean? And that kind of maturity kind of took off too as well. Yeah,
I guess that's kind of my nature. I mean, I always want everyone to be there.
Right.
I mean, because if I can help someone with the math of it, help someone bend it, realize why they're doing it wrong, I mean, I'd want someone to do that for me.
Right.
So I do that for them.
Right.
And that's just kind of how it was for me. I mean, no one in the class was actually ever mean to me. I mean, every class I had, I feel like I had great guys.
Yeah.
Which is why I wanted to help, because I was like, when I helped them, they had no problem helping me. Connor helped me out a lot.
Yeah, Jim too. Connor.
No,
Jim,
he had
but you had Connor too.
Yeah, I had Connor too, because like he was like one class behind me, and then he was like one class behind Connor.
Right.
And, it was like kind of a stagger.
Yeah.
Setup for the classes and whatnot, but yeah, I mean, I think we all kind of did that and everything in those classes. We would all kind of, whenever we start learning something, we would do what we can to show other people, because part of understanding one of these skills is understanding it, being able to write it down and explain what it is, and then like the ultimate form is being able to explain it to other people and teach others. So you were kind of learning and getting up to the point to where you understood it so that you could teach it for others, and that was kind of also instilling your own theories in your head. So about how it's supposed to be.
How important was camaraderie? I mean, like, and we can go back to the beginning, but how important was, like, in my mind, when I think back to that first mod, I mean, and we've been through some stuff, let's be honest. You weren't there yet with this guy, because I was teaching that afternoon class first, and that was my first, I don't know, not a lot of people know, I was hired, and then I had class Monday.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought it was like maybe a couple weeks.
No.
Warm-up period.
No, there's no.
So you didn't get to like review the curriculum and all that?
Yeah, for 2 days.
Oh yeah, a whole
It seemed like
module.
thing like my hand.
10 months worth
When
of
I told you
stuff.
guys the John Wayne throwing that kid in the water, and
Oh,
said,
yeah.
listen guys, this is where I am right now. I'm getting thrown in that water.
Yep.
Yeah.
So not a lot of people knew that, which I didn't mind. I don't care.
And there's sharks in that water.
There is sharks in that water.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's coming into you guys, but you guys are now, and you know, if you talk to the second class, I'd always say, you always like the night guys better. And I did. You guys were more mature. And then I had that afternoon class in the beginning, right? And that was rough. And then I remember something, because for me, when I think back to it, I remember I'd come in here for the first 5 minutes, you know, and Christopher would be like, don't say anything, you need to relax. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I just had to decompress. It's like, man, what just happened right now? But then I turned it on for you guys. So I appreciate it. So we had like growing pains together.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like, but then I also knew, because my first model was conduit. And then I remember showing you guys the gladiator video of, you know, stay together and we'll survive.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah.
And I was like, I just want you will live through this class and we can just come together a little bit, because I needed you guys just as much as you needed me.
Well,
you know?
yeah, of course, and I think that's a big part of just being in this kind of environment, because not everyone has all the answers and everything, and you were still, you know, learning how to teach us and going through the curriculum, but also like we're going to be dealing with that in the workplace too. So we have to all kind of understand that no matter what field we get into, whether it be like in solar, construction, we get into one of the unions or whatever, if we're going to be working with PLCs or whatever, you're going to have to collaborate with the guys around you to figure out how to accomplish whatever goals that you were hired to do, and part of that comes down to, exercising those skills, and you provided an environment to where we can do that. And, it was very important, especially for me, because I feel like I'm a little bit of a slower learner, but when it comes to having all these different people that have different views of the situation, you have different eyes on the same thing but different angles, and you might not understand it the way somebody explained it, but another person might be able to be like, okay, you're confusing me, let's try this way, here, if they explain it in a different way, then it might click depending on whatever it was. So I think we all tried to do, whenever we understood a piece of information, whether that be like wiring up PLCs or motors, or we're doing calculations with Ohm's law or whatever, if we understood something and somebody was having troubles with it, we would sit there and try to do our diligence to sit there and try and help piece of information they were getting hung up on. And that's incredibly important, because you're going to get into situations out in the field where you're having to learn yourself with whatever new piece of equipment that just got released onto the market, and you're having to install it. You're like, now you have to collaborate with either the manufacturer and see, hey, how am I supposed to install this piece of equipment? What are the ratings? And also coordinate that with the engineer and go, hey, if I do it this way, are we gonna still be in code? Is that gonna mess with the short circuits coordination study, or whatever? But I mean, I think all that kind of piggybacks off the topic that we were having earlier, how Philip was saying that, sometimes you just grow into a role where you're teaching other people
and helping them out
and helping other people out, and then they're able to do the same. So
how big is it when Jim and Connor came in? Because I know, for me, homework changed when they got here. Yeah, just the way we did homework changed. And I know a lot of my students now don't realize, and I don't know if I've showed you, but it's like a big legal document right now, the quality we're putting out of homework. Oh, it has water prints on it and everything. I'm not lying. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful piece of work.
We were still doing a little bit of figuring out how to do it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I remember.
But in that change, what was that like? Because I watched it happen, and I loved every second of it, but I don't know how that happened.
So I think I was more there for that, because because Jim was my first module too and everything, so he was there. But then Connor came in, and we were kind of flying by the seat of our pants, because we were doing a lot of things just written in the notebooks and everything, and still because you were still kind of getting in the swing of things, and we were writing stuff down on paper and whatnot, and I think people's penmanships, and just also taking pictures of those and uploading that to the portal, it'd be jagged, not lined up.
Aren't you the one that's taking a picture of your kitchen?
Yeah. I was too zoomed out.
Yeah. I can tell the tile. You guys got bananas going on there.
You got a dog somewhere.
So if you're mad because there's no more Photoshop and there's no more screenshots, you blame this guy right here. That is literally his fault. I'll never forget that. Is this your kitchen? What am I looking at?
If anything, it helps out, because I messed up, and you're like, we're not doing this anymore. But now they know. Now from with us, it's you're just send it. You're all right, we'll send it. And then now, because I remember, I'm not sure if they use it now, but I found, because of that, I found a random software you could use called Wondershare, where it was actually the blueprint stuff, that. And when I started using that, I was like, hey, here, you guys have this. And then everyone started to look the same. Some guys still use the draw, which Jesus. Wow. But when you had the Wonder, it showed everything. You can make your own the whole apartment building that we did. Oh no, we were making our rooms.
The rooms,
yeah. And you looked at the doors, the windows, how it's wired up, the outlets. It has all the icons, so you didn't have to draw it or remember it. It was all there.
Yeah.
So it was a little, I would say, because one of the, I guess, the badder parts from the starting is just that we had to do it wrong for later people to know how to do it right.
Absolutely.
And so,
Yep.
so I mean, honestly, that's not even the worst. I mean, we deal with that. I mean, everyone probably deals with that every day.
Yeah.
I mean, but like even with our work, I mean, we graduated with a really good GPA and stuff like that, but we still deal with that just at work, just for other stuff.
Yeah.
So it's just always, everything's always changing. Everything about how breakers work, how this works, how that's supposed to read, the measurement, everything is always changing. And sometimes even with Fluke, I dealt with thermography survey, and I submitted a complaint, and because of that complaint, I had the top heads of the thermography survey people at Fluke give me their personal phone number, and I had a Zoom call with them.
Nice.
Because I was like, hey, like this isn't really working well, and they asked me. So it's like it happens all the time. I don't even think about that till right now, but it happens all the time. Right. Everyone has questions. Not everyone knows the answer. Everyone knows a little bit of this, that, whatever. But then one guy finds the right thing, and then now everything is streamlined.
Yeah.
And so from that, you guys were able to figure out a great way to streamline the whole process.
Yeah.
Back when we had started, there were like half the students that didn't care about their quality of work, of turning in their homework and everything, and then the other half where it was just complete, but the thing is that me and him have to deal with creating reports now, so that kind of having a environment that always tried to hold us accountable for the kind of quality of output that we are putting out, and making sure that we are putting out quality work also is paying in dividends, just because we are now having to create these reports that are technically legal documents for these, for our company to these customers that we deal with. And so we can't just send them pieces of paper that just have scribbles on it, things that are misspelled, some line diagram off a napkin or something like that. We can't just send stuff in like that. We have to do it in a professional manner that is going to reflect well on our company. So after I had left, like I kind of took that with me and to this company, but like you guys, you were able to figure out a good streamlined process to do that, and that is only going to teach these future students that, hey, look, we gotta really, it's not just knowing how electrical works, it's also learning the professionalism behind.
And that's what I was heading with my next little part, is like, I know that I made you guys talk more than you wanted to, stand up more than you wanted to, give more demos than you wanted to.
Oh yeah.
But all that I knew, because I mean, if we're being fully, you guys will know. Nick used to say in everything, I don't know, every other second, and everything, and everything, and I was like, Jesus, So that's why I was like, we do those things for our ability to articulate ourselves, so that when we get out there, we can communicate to the heads of Fluke, and they're totally fine with our communication skills.
Yeah.
So and that's something we drive home even harder right now, but you guys were, the foundation blocks of why we do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still work on that, but the thing is that, I was able to learn a whole lot and grow being here, and, having you to like kind of hold me accountable and tell me, hey, look, you need to stop, doing A, B, or C. And that has only, improved my communication skills, my skills as an electrician. And, I've really been able to grow from it. And, and I'm only going to continue to grow. And that's where I find myself where I am right now.
But it's your ability to be coachable.
Yes.
We get students in here, you guys know, we had them. They don't want to hear any feedback that's not, you're the greatest thing running right now. And it's like, that's not real world. Your boss isn't patting you on the back every day. You know what I mean? I don't think. Maybe he is.
But I want to see Brian. I'm gonna say Brian Saldivar. I don't know if you remember.
He's done a podcast here.
He's done a podcast here.
You should see him. I'll show it to you.
The kid?
Yeah, the kid.
The kid?
The kid's not the kid no more.
He's not the kid no more.
No.
Oh,
kid has a beard.
Yeah?
Oh yeah.
Well, yeah. The Brian Saldivar. If I see you again,
calling you out.
Yeah. No. He would. Brian would always keep it to himself. He would never say something back. When he ever says something, obviously he's trying to like, egg you on, do whatever. Everyone usually says something back, but he never said even the last day of class, we're like, bro, just curse at him. It's free. You're going to grad. Just say it. Just say it.
Yeah.
And he never did.
Unleash the beast.
Yeah. We're like, maybe he has it all in his fist right now. And
He
so
just got a cork board at home with
I know, right?
knives just stabbed into a picture of humor.
Well, it's funny. He sat here same as you guys, and we talked about it, and we didn't get too much into it. I'll get a little bit. He was the only student I was ever worried that maybe I took it too far, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not that I was cursing him out, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But was I on him? Yeah. Did I give him any slack? No, I did not.
No. Yeah.
But the reason I did that, and I told him that when he came by, because I never thought I'd see him again. If we're being honest.
I didn't think he would ever
I thought he'd never come back.
Yeah.
If he did, it was a back. And I told him this. I told him the reason I was the way I was with you is because I saw potential, but I also knew when people saw his baby face, they were gonna
They'd let
they
him
would just let him have it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I'd rather you have that here and hate me and thrive out there.
Oh yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
So I'll take that bullet.
Yep.
And I did it on purpose. And if you see him now, he ain't the kid no more. I'll show you.
I got it.
It's on YouTube. You can watch it. It's the second one we've ever done.
Shout out.
Wow.
Yeah, go watch it.
Yep.
But yeah, Brian is not the kid anymore, and he's out there crushing it right now.
Because he's sent our group chat like a photo every random now and then, we haven't talked. So I'm definitely gonna watch that video.
Yeah.
I just want to see it because
Yeah.
we're all like, bro, just say something.
And I was like, I was wanting to, because that was the other part. It was like that was part of crossing that hill. Was like be able to take it, be able to dish it back.
Yeah.
Because,
you know,
especially in this industry, there are so many salty dogs out there
Yeah.
as journeymen, and I've heard so much worse outside of this classroom than I did deal with you. And the thing is that you kind of helped prepare us for that and told us, hey, look, there's going to be some guys out there that are going to cuss you out, throw stuff around and everything,
Right.
and not to say that should be happening or anything, but you're going to deal with some angry individuals that are old school.
For no reason at all.
yeah,
the
they
thing
just
is
woke up
that-
and it's a Tuesday and they're mad about it.
and they're mad about it, and they're going to take it out on every single person.
Right.
But the thing is you have to learn how to deal with that and not lose your own self in it, because that could cost you your job, and especially if you're just dealing with that one person for the one day.
Right.
Because, like you were saying, we're not coming out because of like fun parties or anything
Right.
like that. We're coming out and it's an emergency for people.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're stressed out because we may be coming out to a manufacturing company and they're hemorrhaging hundreds of thousands of dollars because they can't get a piece of equipment to operate because, say, the breaker that feeds it is not, working as
Right.
it should, and we don't have any breaker that is available within the next 3 days or whatnot.
Right.
So you're coming over there to fix a situation, and they're going to be pissed off and they're going to be short with you because they got people being short with them and
Right.
everything. And
you
you have
gotta
to
meet them there.
exactly. And then and with that, you also have to remember if you can't let that affect you.
Right.
Because if you do, then you're just bringing yourself down to their level.
Right.
And we're not here to fix problems with people. We fix problems and things.
Absolutely.
So
You said you had a saying.
it was
Yeah.
something like that.
Yeah.
It's just
we don't find problems in people.
we
We fix no. Oh my God.
yeah. I
No.
tried to say it.
I was like,
It's- we don't fix problems with people. We
No, I think if you
fix
don't-
problems with things. I forget,
something like that. What?
We
what
find
is it?
It was good,
solutions.
too.
It was good.
It was a quick one too. Like a quick win.
Yeah.
I was trying to do it and I butchered it. My bad.
He
but
did butcher it. Now I can't think. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's
but
like
it's,
it's
but
not.
it's that same.
Yeah, it's the same.
If
thing.
we're not looking for problems in people, we're looking for solutions to problems.
Yeah,
There it is.
that's what it is.
There we go.
But
there we go.
it's very true though, and you have to understand that you're going to be coming out to those situations, and you also have to know, hey, look, he's pissed off because of the situation. I'm going to do my best,
Right.
but if I sit there and bring myself down to his level, then I'm out of a job, and I'm, now I'm in the wrong or whatever. I'm just here to do my job and get the job done correctly in a
Absolutely.
professional manner, because that's not going to reflect well on my company or anything like that. So
Yeah. And I still try to, get people in situations, and still now. I mean, I've been way more timid. Not timid. I'm way more easier.
reserved.
Reserved, I guess is the best way to put it. I've done HR
sensitivity.
training. Sensitivity training.
Is that mandatory?
Yeah. Listen, I'm used to coaching on the football field. You know what I mean?
Coaches don't play.
Yeah. You know, there's no games on that field. But you know, I've learned from that, and I'm okay with it. You know, I think I've found a happy medium now where you can still push them, but without degrading them. I don't really think I do. Well, I don't know. Maybe I did degrade a couple people.
You got. I remember it only happened once. You actually did be like, hey, by the way, I apologize. It's like it was Angel. I don't remember his last name, but like I think he was just tired. He came from work, he had a longer shift, and then he just messed up 2 times in a row. And then you said something, and you like said it like loud for everyone to hear. It wasn't even proud, like so everyone could hear. I was like, hey, like my bad. I think I'm getting a little bit tired. That was the only time I heard you say that. Too.
I try to catch myself, But again, I also feel like I'm not saying anything you're not going to hear in the field, good or bad. Mm-hmm. And again, I don't try. It's not even about. It's not like. And I try to explain sometime I got in trouble with. It's not the cuss words that people get upset about, because I'm not really cussing. You know what I mean? I'll say some shit, you're just like, damn. You know what I mean?
It's when those comments cut deep.
It's the deeper comment. It's not. There's no cussing.
There's a grain of truth in that.
Yeah. It's not. There's not to be a cuss word in it. What I said. Oh no.
I'm not mad. I'm just disappointed.
Oh man, but honestly. It's like the crazy thing is like because you prepared us for like kind of the older heads. I would say a lot of times I'm dealing with people who like 40, 50, just been there for a while. They're the ones they just have a shorter fuse. Like and then like sometimes me and Nick we just think out loud and like we say what we're doing out loud. That's mostly just for us to confirm it again like twice in our head. Like, and then those guys like so you know what you're doing? It's like I'm doing it step by step.
Right. Let me process.
I'm doing it and then but funny thing is like. Almost like the younger generation, like I've seen younger guys, and like they're the ones that are like, oh, it's okay. Do you need us to unhook this, unwire that, take off this cabinet? Like they've actually been a lot more like working with us, not like, dude, are you good? Like, can you do it?
Again, I think the trend's dying of like we'll use the word hazing because it is what it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But paying your dues.
Yep.
I think the dues are a lot less, and I think that there was a time. And I could say I was part of that time where it's like, I paid my dues. But I also think I paid like 9 other people's dues.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm paying dues for a whole crew right now. And in that, it was like,
how many more dues do I
expensive? I was like, this whole guy.
Can this be a tax write-off? This is charity.
You're not even smart enough for me to have to pay this many dues. So in that, I think that, and I know it shifted for me. I'm still me, of course, but when I got enrolled in charge of people, I'm not going to make you pay all them dues. You know what I mean? I'm just not that human. Yeah. I didn't wake up on a Tuesday because I'm pissed off because it's a Tuesday. You know what I mean? Me and Jack Daniels don't have that kind of relationship anymore. Which a lot of old guys it does. And I'm not talking crap. I'm being honest. You know?
Oh yeah.
And plus, divorce level and kids and all that stuff. And I didn't have any of that. So it was like I wasn't going to make people pay that amount of dues because. Once they pay, then they pay, you know, and you can't keep charging them. Yeah. So it's like be hard on them so they know where the whip is, but at the same time, let them run. And I think there's been a downgrade in that. Not that it's a bad thing. I don't want it to be too soft.
Yeah.
You can't lose that.
It's definitely. I mean, especially for us, like for new guys getting to it. But at least I feel extremely lucky in my job. For the main part is the older people who are the higher levels they want to teach. They want they're gonna make fun of you. No joke. Just like you're gonna be like, oh, you think you're gonna do that? You think that works? Huh? You think that's how that works?
They will do that.
They will do that 110%. Yeah. But then they're like, all right, but this is what's going on. Right. And so I would say because
they've got that.
Yeah. Like it's like, and so I feel more than lucky to be in my position. And it's. So funny to say because even like, oh man, I got the hard ass teacher, or I got the hard ass like a coworker or something like that. It's almost like they make you be better than the guy who would be a little bit lenient. So it's like you still want someone to make you on your toes, but since you're on your toes, sooner or later you're gonna your foot, like your whole foot, like be confident to answer how it is. Right. And so it's like if you find that perfect medium, which I believe we have at our job. We are just extremely lucky to just be learning what we have because it's just.
And you guys have I wouldn't say the fast track, but if we're being honest, a lot of people envy you, you know, especially being as young as you are and in the business you're in. You're not, have you guys been conduit or pulled wire?
No,
No.
that's not at our job. So
Right? So
thankfully.
you use your brains instead of your brawn, where it's like, you know, and I've always said work smarter, not harder.
Yeah.
But
So,
you still got to work hard at times.
right,
you
but it's
got-
also
but you
doing
devote
it,
that
reading the
energy.
books,
Mhm.
getting into understanding stuff you're alone, not counting on others to figure stuff out for you because
Yep.
no one is going to.
Nobody's
Yeah.
going to.
Yeah, and it's you know, embracing those things, which is, you know, what I've always tried to tell you guys, like, you know,
Yeah.
the most success I've ever had, I had by myself, but I also couldn't. I'm in a room and all the lights are off. You know what I mean? And I have to figure this thing out.
Yep.
And you know, who am I gonna call? Ghostbusters? Like,
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
If you're the professional,
Yeah.
you're the competent person,
Yeah.
figure it out, you
And
know.
they're paying you to be in that room. It's like, okay, let's figure this out.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't go looking
You
for.
can't just fall apart.
Yeah, you gotta be. Yeah.
And-
So you gotta have that in you.
And see, we're lucky because we do have a lot of great knowledge to pull from our company because
Yeah.
of these technicians that we do have. But you know, even that's still. With all of that being said, they're also on other jobs and everything. And
Yeah, you can't
it's not
blame them.
just you can't just sit there and always constantly run to one person or another person whenever you have when you come to one of these hurdles. You
Right.
also have to do your diligence to understand the
Yeah.
equipment and how to troubleshoot and figure it out on your own. Because if you can't, then you know, hey, you're not cut out for this industry.
Right.
This is an industry for people that are thinking and need to understand and will sit there and constantly improve their knowledge, because with this technology and just electrical alone, it's always going to evolve and things are only getting more complicated with
Right.
the newer, like, you know, high tech, you know, circuit breakers,
Right.
transformers, meters, and all that stuff. It's only gotten more complicated, and you know, dealing with those systems, each different manufacturer is different, so
Right.
you've got to learn the ins and outs of those. And just because you have great information to pull from with other coworkers, they're probably not gonna. They might not have run into that manufacturer. Things might be different from that, so then you might have to contact the manufacturer. But
Right.
Yeah.
a smart man knows when to find a smarter man.
Right.
But you also have to be smart enough to just be able
Yeah.
to
Right.
think for yourself as well too.
And you were saying earlier, I wanted to hit on this. I was going to tell you, you were talking about finding manuals. I know that I was messing with the book, not the person. There was a time we had a company and they had the manuals and they hadn't uploaded them digitally, right? And you were like, yeah, it might be in a basement somewhere. And that's the most truest statement. There was a piece of machinery we had, and the way they were, this is literally how they were doing things. If someone would call the company and say, hey, I have this equipment, they'd go get the manual and then they digitally make a copy. And until someone called for it,
Yeah,
they wouldn't upload the digital copies. They had a factory full of books,
Yep.
you know what I mean?
Oh,
But if
yeah.
no one called for the book,
then they wouldn't do it.
then they wouldn't upload it to the internet. And then the guy came in and said, where are all these books? Get rid of them. So if you had never called for any of those things,
You're fucked.
you're so screwed.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because
Oh,
you know,
man.
Yeah.
for the Fresno County building, I'm having to troubleshoot their automatic transfer switch. One of the so it's a Cummins Onan system, and it is the OD800. There is no support for that online right now. I can't find the manual for that exact ATS that shows every single piece of a motherboard, how it should be, the wiring diagram, and what it should do. I found things that were close, like the OT3, and there's certain components that are the same on those ATSs, but aren't necessarily the same to what I'm dealing with.
Right.
So right now, I'm trying to get a hold of them just to get a manual. That way, I'm checking to make sure that our inputs and our outputs should be what they should be.
Right.
But even with that, like with these older legacy systems, there's gonna be a lot of times where you run into these systems that have been updated or not even really updated. They've had some other people come in and something like broke or went out, something stopped working, and then somebody else jerry-rigged it to
Right,
work.
right.
So now you have to
That ain't in the
figure out.
manual.
That's not in the manual. So now
Yeah.
you see 2 extra relays that aren't supposed to be there. Now you're like, oh no,
Yeah.
what do these do?
Yeah, where
And
did this
now
come from?
you have to have the technical knowledge to know what those do, and also go, okay, well, let's try to compare that to a manual that is supposed to reflect that, and then go, okay, is this sending a signal to retransfer whenever you lose utility, or is this going to send a signal to the generator to start, or what are our inputs, what are our outputs, how does that input, how do those inputs and outputs relate to a temporary generator that got dropped off that people tried to swap out,
a million and one things that
exactly. So it's also comes down to just looking for the right information and knowing how to be self-sufficient enough to and be out of your comfort zone to talk to these companies and these manufacturers and go, hey, I've got a problem here. I can't find your manual. Is it in your guys' basement? Can you upload it? And sure enough, there's been times where I've gotten, like, I test batteries a lot for, control power for, like, medium voltage systems. A lot of times you have to contact the manufacturer for their discharge sheet for your load banks and whatnot. What's the current you need to put those batteries to, and what the in voltage is, and your float voltage or equalized voltage and all that stuff. There's plenty of times in our jobs where we have to contact the manufacturers, because if you just Google it, it doesn't just come up. They kind of sometimes safeguard that information.
Right, copyright issues and all
copyright issues, but also just competent people dealing with those systems too, because like you might get a guy that said he worked maintenance in the past and everything. He gets hired on to figure out some kind of say if we were talking about control power batteries, it's like, oh hey, what is the proper float voltage for this, or equalized voltage? Let's just look up that manual online. Sometimes they might look it up and go, oh, this is what it should be, and they end up putting like their float voltage to their equalized voltage level, and it ends up burning out those batteries prematurely, and once they lose power or utility power, now their backup power is no longer going to open up a circuit, and that could cause protection issues. And
say a hospital or something like that.
There's a lot of different things where they kind of safeguard some of those manuals, so that people don't mess with them. Incompetent people aren't messing with them. So then you have to sit there and contact those manufacturers, because they're like, oh, okay, you're good, we'll send it over to you. But it's just, there's a lot of things that you have to be aware of, and being in this course so with the certification program, 10 months is not enough time to learn it all. Right. But you have to gain the right kind of mindset from being here. That way you can get out in the field and know when you get out in the field, you should know that, okay, I've learned so much that now I know there's so much I don't know, but I can figure this out. Right. And I will do everything in my power to do that, because I am now the competent, qualified person, because I went through this course. And you should be holding yourself accountable for every single thing that you do when it comes to learning every single aspect of these different programs here.
And when I tell students right now, it's like, what we show you here in these 10 months, which again, is a very fast amount of time, is it's more like I'm giving you a taste test. You know what I mean? Here's a little tour of Italy. Here's a little tour of Spanish food. Here's a little tour of this. You know what I mean? So it's like, there's so much more cuisine in Italy. You know what I mean? I may have showed you, some fettuccine, but it's like, you don't even know, you haven't even started to understand what Italian is. It's the same thing with, like, here's a little PLC. Well, this little bit right here is, it's its own world.
It's completely.
Conduit's its own world. Blueprint's its own world.
It is.
Commercial, residential, the whole thing. It's like, we got 10 months to give you the biggest sample we can. And I think, we're doing as best we can with it. We're in a blended system now. No 4 days a week.
Oh yes.
Yeah, that's 2 days, right? That's wild.
So it's rough.
So I definitely like the 4 days. To be honest, I really like the 4 days. Because I had a little taste of the 2 days, I guess, because I think of the last one, which was industrial, which was the 2 on, 2 off. But I still came in every 4 days, just because I was used to it already, and then even just how a lot of stuff was changing. As you can see, we honestly still do. Do we come here? Do we just submit an assignment? What do we? It was very confusing. It was very confusing. But I mean, I was like, I'm gonna just go to class. I was already used to it. I'm gonna just go to class, and then because one of my big things was like, because we made the MCCs, and then you had it, so it's like, okay, one day is going to be, because there's going to be 2 partners in one MCC, and then Monday, Wednesday is going to be this guy. Tuesday, Thursday is going to be the other guy. So 2 guys can work in one thing.
Right.
And if it's only 2 days, then that's up. And so that just changes a lot because when it's the 4 days, at least it's still one class for you. But if it's the 2 days, now you're teaching another class on that day that we're in, trying to catch up, do the homework, do whatever we're trying to do.
And I try to streamline that as much as possible. You'll feel happy for this. Then it was only 2 guys. The last time I taught it was 4 guys in one panel.
Yeah.
Oh, they got to know each other real well.
Yep.
Oh, brother. That's good.
Yeah, they really got to know each other. Yeah, if you didn't bang that week, then
Yeah, all right, you need some deodorant, bud.
I brought you this.
Like, here, happy Valentine's Day.
Yeah. So let me ask you guys a couple questions, school related. So, what was your? Let's go like toughest mod, easiest mod, worst moment, best moment. Let's go. We can knock those out. So whichever one you want to go. Let's go. Easiest mod first. The whole mod.
Easiest mod. I think this is just.
Or let's just go best mod. What was your best mod?
Okay, best mod. It's how I want to describe it. I really love math. Like math, I was doing the homework that day, done for the next, and I'm just chilling. So I just like math, and especially the electricity in our job. A lot of it's math. Like the reason why stuff is how it works, why it goes a certain way. There's math. It tells you why. And then, so I just love the math of it, and then finally understanding. So I think just personally for me it was math. But if it was physicality wise, like wiring stuff up, favorite I think had to be industrial with the MCCs. Just because it's just the fun I had. I think it was just fun changing, and then that's when I was really understanding a lot too. Just like rewiring everything. I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
And then, because once you're sitting there, now you're using, like, after we started using physicality, then using the brain, like, how to wire, it's like, okay, like, it was, so I think, my, like, mentally, math, but physicality, industrial.
Yeah.
Those are my 2 favorites.
Well, because you guys built the MCC.
Yeah.
So if you're in an MCC right now, thank this guy. He built it for you.
Yeah, we built it and did it.
And they had to
Hell yeah.
Yeah. So we don't have enough time. I was like, they built them and they did it. Yeah. Okay, what about you? Best mod.
I think the best mod.
He's gonna say PLCs.
PLC.
Yeah.
You know, honestly, just
You don't say.
this beauty back over here. It's only the rum runner.
No big deal. No one knows what that
Took
is.
me forever to figure out.
Yeah. You had a lot of help.
Design.
Yeah.
Thanks for painting it.
Hey, I stained it too. I stained it.
Hey, that's
Stained on there.
You know, it's got to match the pirate ship
That
thing.
sticker didn't make itself. Thank you, Poncho.
Well, you rubbed off my name from where I punctured one of the.
Well, it got marked up, but a big old shark, so I took all of it off.
Okay.
But I mean, we'll always gonna know that you don't know how to use a drill, so there it is.
Yeah, so obviously PLCs, just because like I like the more technical aspect of it, and just.
But that project didn't start PLCs.
It didn't start, so
Really?
it started 2 mods before, I believe.
Yes.
Why did you start so early?
Because I figured
It started in industrial.
it was created. It was his idea to do during industrial and whatnot.
Of course, some big
And-
project.
Yeah.
And technically,
You're learning.
but this brain child was his when
Okay.
he was in industrial when I didn't have him. So when I was in the 10-week math course, I had Clark, and so from there he had this idea, and later on when so that was his idea during industrial, and so when we got him back for blueprints and everything, like he talked about it and everything, and from there we went to I believe it was the
Commercial. Residential.
it was residential, and so residential is when I started working on it, because he was like designing, like he had an idea for a concept, and at that point, after getting through blueprints and everything, I was thinking, well, nobody else is working on it. I'll just like kind of spitball some ideas and everything, and we were going back and forth between how he wanted to do it, and me and Jim were kind of throwing back certain like ideas and everything, and from that point, nobody like really started working on it. Jim had started to. What he did is he made the lids and whatnot, and then from there, I think he had left that mod right there, and then from there, it was just me and like nobody else was doing it. And I'm like, you know what? I'm down to just start working on it, and I was thinking it was going to be a whole class thing, but I didn't think like everything would just come down to me to do it. But I figured, you know what, I'm going to use this as a learning experience, because with that, if I could figure this out and figure out a good way for this to work, then it's going to be another feather in my cap. It's going to give me confidence to go out there and into this trade and see and show people, look what I did. Because when I took that blueprints class with you, that was like one of the moments where it's like, even after the math class and everything, I was thinking, you know what, a lot of this is, there's so much information, and at that point I was feeling like a little like overloaded, and I was thinking, man, I really hope that, because like PLCs was kind of scary to me and whatnot, because there was already so much information up to that point. I'm thinking, okay, if I don't get ahead of this, and if I don't start learning now for PLCs, then I feel like if I just wait till that class comes, I'm just going to be lost out there. So I was like, well, I guess I'm just going to start, jumping into it right now. And I was seeing if I could get like that PLC book before that class started, but they wouldn't release it till the weekend that started.
Right.
And, so construction, or for residential, I just started like helping you like, spitball ideas and everything. It's like, well, no, this isn't going to work that way. And then you'd be like, well, I want it to work like this. And I was like, well, okay, what's a good way for it to work? Let's find out. So we were collaborating to touch back.
Because this guy right here for the final, even the day of the final, he's like, I don't want to do it that way anymore. What do you mean? What do you mean you want to do it that way anymore? He's like,
we're halfway through.
Turkey don't look like a turkey. Oh my God! All right, get the benders out.
The turkey was a turkey. Now I'm over it. Take it.
Dude, it was like every day.
We're halfway through the last day.
Like last 90 minutes. You know what? I'm gonna put some else on. It's like, oh my God, dude! Here's why this motherfucker to work at this point, dude. It's like, bro. But
You know what's funny is I never read the comics that you guys read, and then they made me read them. So then I read some of them, and I always look at the bad ones first, and I look at the good ones. But I remember some of them, and then like who wrote them, based on. And it was one of them. I don't know who wrote it because it's anonymous. But one of them is, and I knew exactly it was your class. I don't know who wrote it. But it was like, all he does is change his mind.
It might have been yours.
I don't know. I probably put something like, hey, there needs to be a little bit more like finality to the deadline to what he says. It wasn't that. That had to be.
Is there a bipolar for changing your mind?
I would love to figure out.
It's not his moves. It's just his mind.
Well, because it's like it's such catch-22. I think that's the right thing to say, because it's like, there's also a moment Joseph said, and I tell the students all the time. He goes, one of them says, he changed his mind again. And he goes, and it was late. Like we're trying to get out of here. We're trying to get to work and stuff. And Joseph picks up the bender. I'll never forget this. It plays in my mind all the time. He picks up the bender. He says, if Mr. Huber says he wants it, he's getting it. And I was like, no. I was thinking enemies. Say no.
This is my villain art.
Oh my God.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, collaborating with your fellow students and also co-workers to figure out and accomplish a goal. And so starting off during residential doing that, I just kind of built up these 1,000 miles starts with a single step. And I kept making those steps to build up to that PLC class. And by that time, I felt even more confident in myself, even though once I got into PLC, it's like, oh, this is like so much, but it's like, I'm just going to study the chapters that it's going over and everything, and from there, I'm just going to keep going back and drilling it into my mind, and over time, it just, it started to click, and then from there, by that point during PLCs, I had gotten up to this point, and then so I was like, okay, I need to start wiring things up, and then start playing around with logic, and then from there, I didn't even finish this by the end of PLCs because I had commercial after. So I finished it, the code that is on it right now, halfway during commercial, because I was trying to figure a good way to sequence it and all that. But I think PLCs was my greatest class, or the my best class that I had the greatest moments in and whatnot.
Yeah,
that's because
but even some of those weren't even in PLCs. That you bring that up because, and this is why when he had commercial, he still had to do all the commercial stuff.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. It wasn't like he didn't have to wire the boards, but he was like, I think it was like day 1, day 2, he's done with all the boards. He's like, yeah, I'm going back to run. I'm not gonna tell him no.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I've never tried to slow anyone down. You know what I mean? I run as fast as you can in this class. So he could wire his boards real fast, have them all done, and hey, I'm back on there. Everyone else is working on their stuff. You know what I mean? So he's not slowing anyone down.
Well, there'll be times I'd have to come back and like help people because they'd ask me, and it's like, okay, I'm just working on the run runner.
I'm just doing something you have no idea what to do. Don't want me to build a rocket ship. I'll come over here and fix your house.
Just give me a Coke, I'll be fine.
But and that it was just a great opportunity for me to grow. And like you were saying, you didn't want to slow me down. You let me go at my own pace, and you just let me, go. And I was able to figure this out. And I think that gave me a lot of confidence going in and securing the next job I had, which was at Pactiv. And then from there, I felt pretty confident over there because I had to troubleshoot this safety interlock issue that they were having. There was like a bunch of e-stops that had like 3 different channels going to a safety relay and whatnot. Nobody else could figure it out except for me, and that took them like a whole day and whatnot, and it took me like 4 hours to figure it out. And it made me feel good because those guys have been in maintenance for like 40 years, 30 years and whatnot, and they were contacting the manufacturer and whatnot, and I just got there with the meter and whatnot. I'm like, okay, so what I knew is that the it was showing that there was an e-stop that was having an issue and whatnot, and it wasn't allowing that padding machine to continue to operate. So what I did is I jumpered the contacts for your channel A and channel B, because at that point I had already like gone through the logic and the wiring diagrams prior, just to familiarize myself with that machine. I'm like, well, okay, we could pull the safety contact relay out of the equation by putting these 2 contacts in series with each other. And if I'm able to do that, then that tells me it's the one of the e-stops, one of the safety interlocks is open or shorted and whatnot, and it is no longer in series with each other. Did that? It fucking energized. So all right, now I had to go through 21 different stops, a lot of safety interlocks, and then from there it took me an additional 3 hours to find out there were 2 shorts from 2 of the safety interlocks for the doors, and then 1 short for it was on 1 channel. There were 2 e-stops that were shorted out in series with each other on channel A, and then channel B for just one of them. And, I was able to troubleshoot that, and what I ended up doing is I ended up bypassing the 2 for channel A, and then I had a replacement sensor, so I was able to connect it for that one that was on channel B, and it technically didn't bypass the safety because channel A or channel B's e-stops were still going to that relay. So every time you would open up that door, it's a redundant circuit. So that way, if you lose channel A, you still have channel B to open up that circuit in case of any design. And then that bought us 3 days for new receivers to come in, and I threw them in. But I wouldn't have been able to figure that out if I didn't have all that time with PLCs to kind of like mess around with all that stuff. And
let me ask you this. These people aren't going to know anything about it. No, but listen, that's the way here, and I want to get Phil's in on this too. How many projects can you think about right now that you've worked on that you know exactly what you did?
There's a
Well, all of them. You know what I mean? You're like,
there's some that it's like I can't remember, but
right, but there's some you'll never forget.
Yeah.
You know, you're like, I remember exactly what's wrong with that thing. You know? So I've always found that to be fun because, like, you'll remember stuff because I've been sitting in my house before and I'll think about some project I was working on sometime, but like, remember the time I fixed that thing?
Remember that time I was a genius?
Yeah.
I figured it out, and I was the man, and people were like high-fiving me and whatnot.
It's gonna live for you forever. And this is what I was hitting on: is that sort of detail will forever stay with you because you were brand new right there.
Yeah.
You only had school behind you, so you don't know where you were.
Yep.
Right, and you have a bunch of old heads that couldn't figure it out. So when you get that first bit of confidence, I think that's going to stick with you forever.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, because
You know?
like because with those padding machines, every time they were down, I forget what the number of like how much money it was. So like I think if one of them isn't running, it's like technically $50,000 an hour.
Right.
You know, and it's like that's a lot of money right there. And
Yeah.
that was their
Well,
best
not for
run.
you anymore, but
Yeah,
No, yeah. but that was their best running machine, and they're
Right.
like, when are we gonna get Patter 3 back up and running?
Yeah.
Right.
And
When's that
so,
thing up?
like, cause you know, and they had a particular product that they had tooled for that machine,
Right.
and they made the best numbers off of that one. So then they'd have to go to a different machine and retool it and everything, and then run it off that one.
Right.
And so they would have to like juggle back and forth between the different like SKUs and everything.
Okay.
And it would just kind of throw everything off. And so then that would limit the full amount of production because now you're one line down.
Right.
And, you know, during that, it's like they need that going because, you know, that was at the time where Foster Farms had a whole bunch of chicken that they were just sending out because that's what the trades went for.
Right.
But like
They know where to put it.
they needed a huge demand for it.
Right. That's the seriousness of what we do. you
Yeah,
know? Like
exactly.
it's that dependent on every minute counts and it's worth a lot of money.
Exactly, and you know, like had it been down longer, then they would have had the actual manufacturers come and send a tech out,
Right.
Which that could take anywhere between, if you're lucky, maybe a day, if not like a week.
Depends on where they're coming from. We had a manufacturer flying from Holland one time.
Yeah,
You know?
and you don't know like when you could get somebody out for
Right.
that, and the company is now bleeding because they can't meet their quotas. They can't ship out their material that
Right.
they've already made promises on to other companies, and then from there, if you can't make those demands, then they might go, okay, well, we really needed this product, and if you can't supply that, then we're gonna start looking at another supplier that can meet
Right.
that demand. And you know, with this job, everyone's depending on us.
Right.
Like it is one of the small industries that everything revolves around. Like
Yeah.
everything takes electricity to move, and you know, knowing how that works and doing your job to figure that out and, you know, become the best electrician or technician you can be, it's only gonna help you out in the long run.
Right. What about worst moment? What was your worst moment here?
I think I already briefly touched on it. Probably one of the worst is when my computer like just got locked out basically from my account, and I was like, oh, okay,
yeah.
I'll run the class. Like, really?
Yeah. I know the guy who runs the
I would say that's like one of my worst moments. Trying to think of like the worst moment if it was greater than that, because I never shorted anything out.
God forbid if you did.
Yeah.
You did what?
Hey, why is the lights not working over there?
You look like a short man.
I'm not having an aneurysm. I'm saying, all right?
Please tell me you did not short that out.
I better be having an aneurysm.
Yeah. I don't think there's anything worse than that. But besides, I think it probably all was just all in conduit, because I also remember, since like I said, I was the last cutting, just with the hacksaw measuring it right, and since I was the last one every single time, I was getting more like, I'm the last one, like I can't cut a straight piece, that's it, and then I would go to you, threw away the wrong side when I was cutting, and you're like, what did you give me? And then, like it was just, I was having a tough time, but then I still remember, like, cause going back to the camaraderie thing, like I still remember, like, since I was the only one over there, and then I finally got my last piece, I'd be like, guys, I got one. I didn't know any of the names. I'm like, guys, I got one. And everyone's like, yeah, let's go. I'm like, yeah. And like, from my lowest point, it was just straight up from there.
So was I still dropping them in the box?
Yeah, you used to have that like tote next to you.
Like a cat.
Yeah.
Well, no, because like people were like, I think about things deeply. I'm like, what does this look like? So I know when that thing drops in that box and like, you know, they line them all
Your
up.
heart just drops.
You're just like, damn.
Yeah.
They're just like, all right. And then it's like, I gotta do this again.
Yeah.
Dude, it was brutal.
Yeah.
It was brutal.
But I guarantee you, they tried harder the next time.
You know what's wild is that, and again, I'm not tooting my own horn, but I watched a student and another one of my students who wasn't my student. They both cut at the same time, and I watched my student cut 3 pieces while the other student had only cut 1.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And they were laser, and I was like, nice. But the thing is getting those reps, and how valuable are those reps?
They're, I don't know, it's very valuable. I mean, you can't understate it. I mean, just doing it again and again, and then, like I said, you know, since you're like a hard ass about it, you're like, I know I can't do this.
Right.
Like, so like it's like you being hard on me makes me hard on myself.
Right.
Yeah. So it was just all that cascading down. It was just made me more perfect. For what I'm trying to do, and so it helps out like a perfect medium between being a hard ass and being like, okay, it's all right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
You gotta find it. What about you?
So,
what was your worst moment?
My
Let's
worst.
hear about it, because everyone thinks you just trolled through here.
So I told him, I was like, bro, like when we first got, I was like, Nick, like, cause like our first day that we met, I was like the guy who made the rum runner. He's like, yeah. I was like, dude, like you're supposed to make this legend. Like, like I always heard about you. Like, cause one of the things I told him, I was like, bro, this is you were like Luzzy, dude. Cause like, you think Nick from that shit? You think he would do that? I don't know Nick.
What are you talking about? This mystical guy, is he real?
Like I said, I think I told you earlier today. Like I asked him, like, hey man, like how many lines of code was your PLC? And like Mr. Yuba was trying to scare us, get ready for this PLC class. That's your Spartan training.
So
like it was like 400 lines of code. I'm like,
2 data centers just to get this thing.
It's like you run high voltage cables. It's just the whole thing. It's the whole thing. And so
prevent signal noise and all that.
Like he was just trying to scare. But like you were just like this monolith figure that I never met. I'm like, this is Nick? Yeah. And then
you see the haircut, you're like, this is him? Johnny Bravo had a brother? What?
A better looking one.
Yeah. But worst moment. I want to know this.
What was the Golden Boys toughest moment?
So I'm not going to consider it my worst moment, but it definitely had me upset. But
if you bring up the quiz right now, I swear. Is it the quiz?
No.
No, the quiz goes there. Can I make it up? I'm like, no. We're like 5 months later. Hey, can I make it the quiz? No, it's the quiz.
I still have it.
So, second day of industrial, we got thrown to the wolves to do relays. I'd never messed around with the relay before, and we were basically just told to figure it out and everything. And I'm like, a relay, I knew a relay was a switch, and that's pretty much it up until that point. And I never actually looked into it because I was busy looking through all the other stuff that we were going through. And so, the way it was done, I'd gotten upset, but in that same token, I still sat there and went, okay, well, how does it work? Let's try and figure it out. I was reluctant to do it because I was upset that it wasn't explained a little bit more before, just being told, hey, let's set up this relay lab. You guys, this is a relay, this is a timer, figure it out. I want this light to come on, then that one to turn off, then the next one turn on, that one to turn off, and then the next one turn on and turn off. Figure it out. I'm like, that it just kind of upset me because it's at least go over what relays do and how they're operated. But in that same token, I was gonna say earlier, is there's gonna be plenty of times where you're just throwing something hey, the customer wants this. Figure it out, I don't know more about it, but the engineer says, hey, it needs to be on there, and you got to do what? Figure it out. So I'm not going to consider it my worst moment. It's just
it was the toughest.
It was a tough moment because it was like I never dealt with them before, but now I feel pretty confident about it. I used 5 of them for the rum runner.
Right.
Like pretty much triple my outputs for the power.
Just for some clarification, you had switched to a different instructor that came in. It doesn't matter about that. But I will say, I went back over it when I got you back.
Yeah.
For PLC.
Yeah, and especially for the other students. At that point, I felt real confident into it and everything, and I was able to, teach some of those other students that were still kind of like on the fence about understanding it. So I think that kind of trial that I had, I was able to overcome.
And it was tough. That that was a tough time for all of us.
No matter what, but like it's how you deal with the situation and how you overcome. Because the thing is sometimes you're just gonna be dealt with a bad hand, and you have to take that and run with it. Because life ain't fair; it's never gonna be fair. But you have to make do with what you got.
Right.
Because nobody's gonna sit there and make it easy on you.
No, because if you work somewhere, you got a bad supervisor somewhere. It's like, well, either get another job or deal with this guy.
Exactly.
It's like. Yeah,
you control how you feel, and
I said that.
I still remember too, because later on, you brought it up again, but you forgot it was us.
Did I?
Yeah, when me and Joss were right next to each other in front of the class, and you're like, I think it had to be PLC or something. You're like, yeah, I remember, the first thing they said something stupid. Sometimes other people control their emotions. Who are these two guys? And then me and Joseph were literally just looking at each other, and then he sees that, and goes like, was it you two?
He knew that. I'm sure he knew that.
He probably did.
He just wanted to point it out.
The two idiots that said people can control you.
I was like, all right, yeah. You brought like 2-3 times in total. I was like,
that was the beginning. Actually, when we do that now every 5 weeks, because I told Lady about it, so she does them. She runs the And I told her, I said, we have to change this. I go, I got so tired of hearing everyone say, everyone's in charge of my day, and it's contagious. It ain't contagious to me. You know what I mean? I mean, if you can let people bother you like that, but it was irritating. You know what I mean? And when you guys there, I was like, I'm done. This is the last time I hear this.
But you're technically right about this.
Right.
And if you let that affect you, it's gonna ruin your day and whatnot. But you can control that, and I'm sure it's helped everyone since then.
Let me ask a couple more questions. We'll get out of here. Speaking of that, were the personalizations, the professionalisms, the talks, the quotes on the board? You remember some of those? I mean, we went over like 3 or 4 of them now. You know what I mean?
ERO. I mean, the pillars.
I would say. I would think the most valuable one was the
3 kinds of people in the world.
Yeah, the practicing for interviews. Cause I thought I was pretty good, and then there's like a few mistakes I made in the professionalism. And it's just like, wow, just going in with you guys, almost like as soon as I said the dumb thing, I'm like, I should have said that.
We put you in the gauntlet?
Yeah.
We're just you in the middle?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite thing. One of them.
And then, I would say, when it was just like pinned in front of everyone, that's when I was like, wow, you kind of see how, because I remember Big Tony, he was, comedy, he would walk with us, he would do everything with us, do the math with us, he was just as smart as any one of us, and then, but that interview thing, he just I don't know.
I can picture him saying that. Because he'd be like, well,
I loved it, and then it's just we knew every time he because he would crack under the pressure. Yeah. And then I remember Brian, he did the same thing, and I didn't realize I would also crack. I was like, damn, I shouldn't have said that. Mm-hmm. But then of course Connor coming in, we had the best.
Oh yeah.
Of course.
Damn it.
Yeah.
Why you gotta be so good?
Yeah. But it was just. I like the ones where you were in the gauntlet a little bit better. I'm not sure if that's just a person thing to me, but I like those professionalisms better.
Trial by fire.
Yeah. So I'm trying to remember the other ones that we did, but I just didn't, some of them were more valuable than others.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, what about you, man?
So, there are three kinds of people.
Yeah, there are.
There's those that make things happen, there's those that watch things happen, and then there's those that wonder what happened.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And I have always tried to be, one of those people that make things happen. I know it's like just one of your sayings and whatnot, but I mean that is the truth. You see a lot of people standing on their sitting on their hands and whatnot, and just standing around, and a lot of those people don't really find themselves in very high levels of life, and that's because they're not holding themselves accountable for not being better.
Yeah,
and
we were recently at a job for a grocery store that requires a membership card.
No.
There's two, and then there's an older guy that's right next to us that wired it up, and we found a problem, and we're trying to fix it so that we can pass it and let them know what's going on. And he was a wonder, even though he was standing right next to us watching us do it, he was still like a wonder guy. Like, I wonder what's going on, because me and him were unwiring, putting voltage on.
The guy that wired it in.
Yeah, the guy that wired it up.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we asked him like, hey, can we get your notes for your diagram? What did you have? He's like, here you guys go. Even though like we had him, helping us with stuff, he was still wondering what's happening, because we would ask him some questions, and they're like, okay, you don't know what you're doing.
Right.
Yeah. And then but that's the thing too. Like,
and that guy's like a journeyman electrician that's been in the trade for like 20 years.
Yeah.
So it's like, even if they're right there doing it, there can be people still wondering what's happening.
Right.
I would say, especially even with our job, like when we were learning how to use our test equipment stuff, like, we're still wondering how it is. Okay, how does this work? You thinking about it in your head.
Theory-wise.
Yeah, and then you literally, as we got to our level 2 position, like that's how you really are wondering what happens, and then we're there and wonder. What was the other ones? I'm trying to remember.
Wonder watch it happen.
Yep.
Well, we never watched it happen.
Right.
That guy that was on it, he was watching it happen.
Yeah,
and then, but we're literally just keep going through those steps, and now we make it happen every single time. And then, but you still go through that every single time. Like, oh, well, how did that happen?
Right.
And I'm gonna watch it happen. Now I'm making it
Now you
happen.
make it
So
happen.
it's just, you still go through those all the time. All the time.
And I think one of the reasons why we were able to, get to the positions that we've been in is because we have always acted the position above us.
Yeah.
And that's one of the key things that you should be doing, no matter what position you are in life, is if you act the position above you, you will start growing into that position.
Yeah.
And so, just being the person that makes things happen, nobody knows how to do anything until they just try,
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And that's where it comes back to your other, one of the other things that I took away from this, which is the ERO, event response outcome.
That's right.
There's an outcome that you want, and there's an event that had happened, and you need to figure out how to get to your outcome.
Right.
And that is all dependent off of your response.
Right.
And so from there, you have to sit there and not just be somebody that wondered what happened, not be somebody that watched things happen. You have to be the person that figures out and does figure out what the response should be, the appropriate response to that event to get the proper outcome that you want.
Absolutely. And
That's something
troubleshooting.
that
That's troubleshooting.
That's all of our job.
Yep.
It's our job is making sure stuff works within manufacturing
Always
specs.
new shit.
There's always something like, oh my God, what is it? Like one of the biggest things is voltage sensing equipment when we're trying to do phase-to-phase and measuring.
Insulation.
And oh my God, there's 1,001 things in this job
that
specifically that are like against you. And then obviously you can't see electricity, you can't see like where it's finding its things. You're like, oh my God, what else is connected? And then and that's when you learn how things work again. It's like good that you get that learning experience. Oh, I'll remember that for next time. But it's like when you're there, you don't have the help.
It's a long day.
Like,
you got people like, hey, we need to turn back on.
So where do you guys go in those moments? What's that mindset like?
So I guess for me personally, what it is like, okay, I usually step back. Okay, what is it that I'm trying to get? And then I unplug some stuff, try to think about it in my head, how it would react. Like I said, if it's voltage sensing equipment, touching each phase, means I gotta unplug it so I can measure it properly. I usually look for anything But sometimes that stuff is hidden, and then that's luckily, like I said, we have many people to call. So I'll usually call someone like, hey, this is what I'm dealing with. Have you ever experienced that? And even sometimes those level 4 guys, the top guys in our company, like they're like, I went through that too. And they're like, okay, let me call the manufacturer. But if that opportunity is not available, it's you stay there until it is, and you can figure it out. And sometimes you don't figure it out. But
when you're calling those guys, and I explain this to my students now, I think I do a better job of it. It's not asking questions that's the problem. It's the due diligence before the question.
So we always
it's like, don't come to me and say, hey, I can't figure this out.
Yeah.
You need to come and say, I tried this, and this, and I still don't got it.
Exactly.
Because if you went to them and said, and correct me if I'm wrong here, if you went to them and called and said, hey, I can't figure it out, and they said, what'd you do? And you said nothing, how would that go?
We would be, there would be a big talk about that.
Thing.
So come and see me in the office.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm trying to stress to a lot, everyone right now, because I get students, well, he doesn't like, when, he gives me a smart answer when I ask a question. It's like, I give you a smart answer because you gave me nothing.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how do I do that?
Yeah,
well,
you didn't even try.
You didn't even try. It's like, I'm not being mean, I'm being honest.
Yep.
Because that's exactly how it is up there. Am I wrong?
Oh, yeah.
No, you're right.
You're 100% right. Like, you have to do your own workup in these situations because if you're not doing that, you're not doing the bare minimum.
It's almost like
if you're not doing the bare minimum, it's like, hey, you're not doing your job, get out of here.
Right.
So, like, we have to do our own checks, and part of that is like, okay, am I doing it wrong? Let's see how I'm connected. Am I properly understanding the circuit? You do a couple of those, and you still can't figure it out. Maybe pull up a manual, and if you also have to understand where you're at in time management, and that stipulates whether you can spend more time looking at the manual or calling a coworker that probably knows more about it.
Yeah,
absolutely.
But you have to at least exhaust a couple of the just basic options of just troubleshooting.
Show me that you tried first before you come call.
Usually that's what I try to do. Like when I call them, like I'll just bullet point it. I did these 4 or 5 things.
Yep.
And I know from those 4 or 5 things, that's what I've done in the past. This is just how it works.
Yep.
In general. And then that's when I'm like, all right, you know what? And then I tell them those 5 bullet points. Like, okay, well, have you tried this one thing? It's like, oh, well, I didn't know about that. But it's just still when you're by yourself, that's when it's tough. But
in that same token too, it's like you may not even think to have done one thing. You'd be like, oh man, why didn't I even think about that too? And it's like,
I told you this
I
one
knew that.
time. I remember I told you this one time. It's like I was trying to get insulation resistance from neutral to ground, and in switch gears, you have to remove the main bonding jumper and open it up and stick something in between. And so then you get your, measure the resistance. And so this one time I, unhooked it, put my glove in between, and I'm getting resistance. I'm getting low amount of resistance. I need high resistance or open loop. I'm like, dude, what is going on? And I couldn't figure it out. And it wasn't until I pushed against it, and so these 2 pieces, instead of holding the glove now they were like more separated. And that's when I saw open loop. And I was like, so what happened was my glove was sweaty from me being stressed out. So the water in between my glove was having that resistance, and I was like, I was like, and that's the one thing. Like at least I try to do. I guess I still do it. Like every time I did it today. I called Nick. I was like, dude, if you ever sweat and you're trying to do this one test, or it's raining, don't put your glove in between. Make sure it's fully in between. A piece of wood, something more. It's like, because what if I never pushed it? And I was just like, I guess this fails or whatever. It's like, it's those little things, those little things that you didn't think about. It's like, well, I did everything right.
Yeah.
So
I mean, just glove 100 times.
Yeah.
This time you didn't fold it right. Let's talk just a real quick brief about just work now and kind of the places you've been and what's that like.
Go ahead. We'll start there.
Oh man, there's a lot of places that I've been to that I've never been before. And, that's the great thing about being at this company. We test electrical equipment, so we're called out to do acceptance testing and maintenance testing to a lot of new facilities and a lot of old facilities. Couple of the companies, like I was just out at Vandenberg Space Force Base testing some of their, sectionalizers.
Vandenberg is where Tesla shoots off their rockets?
SpaceX.
SpaceX.
To be
Not
correct.
Tesla. I'm sorry.
Yes.
I apologize. You know, I will
Come
get that down correctly.
Come on.
I'm sorry. SpaceX.
Yes. And so we were testing a sectionalizer switch for some medium voltage cables for a communication tower for the SpaceX.
For SpaceX.
Well, it's for the Vandenberg the Space Force base,
Okay.
which SpaceX uses that same communication tower.
For Space
And
Force.
where we are at, and where we were at, we could actually see the SpaceX launch pad.
Nice.
Where they had shot off a rocket the second day I was out there, and that was a crazy experience to see that come out from behind the mountain, go up. I'm like, wow! And that one came back down to Earth in Mexico.
Nice.
It's like that is awesome, you know.
That's
but it's
cool.
like being at this job. I get to test a lot of cool equipment and, you know, have a different, like, get to see different pieces of test equipment, know the theory behind all of that. And, like, I was out there just to test the sectionalizer switch for a 15 kV, you know, medium voltage cables that were coming up to that sectionalizer switch and shooting out to different loads and whatnot. But, you know, being out there, it's in Lompoc, it's off the coast, it's a beautiful area and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it was just a great experience. So, you know, that was a cool place to go. We went to like this Pinterest building. Sure, they weren't there, but it was in San Francisco. But it was a pretty nice
You went
building.
there?
And
I messed around with my girl about it. I was like, oh, I'm going to the Pinterest building. She's like, I want to go. And then, you know, I didn't tell her that we're just in the parking garage.
Yep.
It's not like I'm in the building. All the equipment's in like a random
floor.
it's all in like concrete. Everything's gray. It's not like I'm in it. But it is, I would say, one of the funniest parts that I enjoy about the job is like when you go somewhere and then, you know, you were going to like to fairs because something shut down.
Yeah.
Or we go to like the emergency calls were like, you know, oh, there's some kind of hard way to get in. You're like, nah, I park where I want. I don't mind. And so it is funny. Like that's one of my favorite parts, I guess, is like acting like it's fine. I don't care. And then
you guys figure it out. I'm gonna take up this front, you know. So
Yeah.
And then but it's
Or everybody waiting on you when you get there.
Yeah.
He's here.
Yeah.
Make a hole.
Yeah, I was
It's
talking to
fun to see.
Javi the other day, Javier, and he was saying that his first day when he came in, he's like, you know, he's like, dude, you can hear the aura. He's like, there's an aura about him.
Man, where's he working now?
Where's he not working right now? He's
yeah?
working some job there, and he's got like 17 side jobs he's working on right now.
Damn, he's
That's
staying busy.
He goes, I'm the same kind of busy I was when I was working full time going to school that I am right now. He's like, literally nothing's changed.
Well,
Except for
just
instead of going
a
to school,
paycheck.
yeah, just a check. Yeah, well, sure.
Yeah.
He's got like 5 vehicles in front of his house right now.
I gotta talk to him again too.
He's got work for you.
Yeah. But I would say just the places that we've been to, it's like
training and stuff too.
One of my favorite things too is like, you know, when we say these places, it's like Space Force and because we've also gone to the NASA base in Edwards.
Edwards, out there in the desert.
But I usually just say, oh yeah, I had to go to NASA. And it is funny too because like what we consider like our testing, what's under our knowledge is like easy to us. So like when we say like, oh, but I'm just going to go test the breakers, like, oh, it's just some 100 amp breakers. No, it's like 4,000 amp breakers, which is long time, short time, instantaneous ground fault. And we test all those, and then you're like, oh. Okay, but it's like, but to me that's simple, so I don't think.
No big deal.
Whenever I've said NASA in the past, I go, I test the equipment that shoots their rockets off.
I mean, technically,
you gotta build it up a little bit, because it's
Well,
like,
it's also not true. You're not lying. You are doing those things.
So there was one day I went out there and tested 27 medium voltage vacuum breakers. They were all 15 kV, and that runs all of their systems for their launch pads and all that other stuff because they test rockets and whatnot. And,
so you are testing their stuff.
But it's just like because in our mind it's simple,
right?
So it's like it's not as much bragging.
It sounds cooler.
Right, but most people don't even understand that. You know?
Yeah. So that's one thing. Like because me and Nick talk about all the time. Like we do want to actually come back here and just I don't know, maybe clarify or just ask. Hey, does anyone have questions about certain things, certain that? Because I know that. like for the math, like a lot of that goes out of people's heads. I was like, well, actually, if you do know the math, like you can figure out a lot of the problems that's going on, or if you do remember the math, you know, like some of these jobs,
things are working
correctly, and like especially in our job, you know, where you use math like all the time. Like if you remember those formulas in your head, then you're golden.
Right.
So it's like yeah, I do. Me and him talk about coming back all the time, just so like, hey, does anybody have any questions or
I
like?
was telling the kid the other day, we were talking about shorts.
Mm-hmm.
Not the kind you wear, guys.
Yeah.
I was gonna
Yeah.
say like not like pants, but
Yeah. Not jorts. Capri Suns.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was telling him about finding shorts that
Eat my shorts.
in your short, you can check it to see how far away it is.
Oh yeah.
Based off the
because
resistance of the wire.
Mm-hmm.
So you're like, okay, this thing's 300 feet away. You know, instead of like, hey, where the hell is this thing?
Or
Yeah,
hey, this
yeah.
is a transformer, or you know, like
Right.
hey, you know, you could figure things out like that too, like because one of our pre-checks when we're testing switchgear is a lot of times they have potential transformers that meter the voltage that you know their switchgear has and whatnot, and for us to before we measure the bus, we have to ohm out and make sure that hey, is there any loads connected that are connecting face to face or face to ground? And a lot of times, if it's got like, say, like 132 like ish ohms, it's like, oh, that's probably a PT for like you know in a medium voltage gear. So it's like, okay, let's see if the PTs are installed or whatever.
Right,
you know,
right,
like
right.
Yeah.
Or hey, there's a CPT, a control power transformer, or you know, there might be other things that like, hey, we got to check before we measure because if not, if we just start measuring, we can end up frying out like a relay or a meter or you know whatever. So,
But the massive thing leads you home.
Yeah.
yeah, that's
it's,
part
it's,
of it.
Like it's so strange. Like a lot of the how electricity works can be explained with math.
Yep.
And then it's like, because I told him one of the things is like, actually, there's a little question about it, so I don't want to bring it up. But basically, like reasons why electricity travels a certain way, you can do it with the math of it. So you know, I'm gonna just say it. AC current travels back and forth, back and forth. Obviously, that's how it works. Back to station current. But watts, the power of it only travels one way, and you can do that if I did draw it. But basically, as you do your power factor and understanding how your volts and your current going up and down at the same time, when they go up, both numbers times each other is a positive number. But when they
On the sine wave.
yes, on the sine wave.
Sine wave.
Sorry, not power factor, so oscillator.
Yep.
And then, but when they both go negative, and negative times a negative is a positive, and both those numbers, when they come back up, can be your sine wave still just going up and down, going from your peak to zero, peak to zero. And because it's always positive, watts go one way.
Yep.
So your power. That's like one thing. I was
And,
like, what?
and it
I
goes
didn't know
one
that.
way, and then it comes back through your neutral.
There you
or
go.
It goes through either your A to B or
Yeah.
A to neutral, and
Yeah.
then, you know, for three-phase power and whatnot.
Yeah, so,
technically, it kind of goes. It does go back and forth, but you know, to feed loads, they go.
Yeah.
Right.
So that is and then that it was explained through math.
Right.
And then there's my level 4 even taught me about just how to tell the polarity of a CT, and it's from doing like drawing like a Y transformer and then showing the 180 degrees away from. There's like a lot of stuff is explained
Yep.
with math.
Right.
So it's and like it's like a power factor with math,
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
Right.
definitely.
trigonometry. So
No, I always said that the
Definitely
math is what's going to
passive
get you there. Like, don't
resistance
ever
and-
mess around with the math and think the math's not important. And
Oh yeah.
I know that I was telling somebody, there was, you know, Alex graduated, and he was saying, you know, the math becomes redundant, but at the same time, in the redundancy, you know that you know it.
yeah.
You know what I mean?
There's a lot of things that are like it kind of fishtails off of for different
Yeah.
things. So like you know, if you know how to do one thing, if another thing might be similar, but like a lot of the test equipment's like a ductor is kind of works almost the same way as a ground rod test set or a winding resistance test set because
Right.
you got your current and your voltage probes and whatnot. It's sending out a current, it's coming back through the other current, and you're measuring your voltage drop. It's kind of the same setup as those,
Yep.
you know, and that can all be verified through your math and whatnot.
Right.
It's just so weird. Just so weird. I was like, how math just explains everything, which is I don't know. That's more stuff. But yeah, math explains.
And where's the coolest place you guys been? I'm totally switching subjects back to the
Yeah,
old
no,
subject.
it's,
Where's the coolest place you guys been?
You go ahead. I want to think of it because I always said NASA, but it's
NASA's pretty cool because you get to see the SR-71 Blackbird.
And see, I love that
yeah,
part. Cause
you
like
know.
it was I showed you guys the California speed test, the video. That's what,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Where like that one so it was like an F-14 pilot that was doing this like 500 miles an hour, and he's like, you know, trying to show off the air traffic control.
Yeah,
and the guy in the SR-71's like, hold my beer. Pretty much. He's like, well, okay, you're gonna do that. And then he ended up doing like 2007, like 67 miles an hour.
Yeah.
And the other guys were like, you know, just didn't say nothing. But
And the reason people, because sometimes I like, what's up with the SR-71? And my thing was, I showed you guys that video because that's how my brain is. Anyways, do you remember how we started watching that video?
no clue, honestly.
Blueprints. Do you guys remember when the fires?
I didn't have blueprints with you.
You
The
did it?
fires.
No.
Okay, so in the blueprints class, we did the safety.
Mhm.
And the fires in Chicago or New York or wherever it was.
Yeah.
And the ladies are jumping out of the buildings, remember?
Mm.
And then I gave
That was that was like in the 1920s,
Yes,
the
1920
shirtwaist
fires.
fire or whatever.
So I gave extra credit points if they could tell me how fast they were going when they hit the ground,
Mhm.
right? So
Oh, and then, that got on to like the because
then they're like, well, how fast are they really going? And I was like, well, you have to understand there's you know, with your free fall speed, right,
Yeah.
which is terminal velocity.
terminal velocity.
And then
that's
I was
what-
like, they're like, well, how fast is terminal velocity? And then, well, how fast is that? And then I was like, and they're like, well, this is really fast. And I was like, no, it's not that fast. And they're like,
Yeah.
well, F-16 can go this fast. And I was like, that's not that fast.
And then that got into like,
That got into
the
me telling about the SR-71. They're like, what the heck is an SR-71? I was like, watch this.
And you know, it's just cool because I started sending you the pictures like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
That's our
And it's my favorite plane.
you know?
It's my favorite plane.
Yeah.
And it, you know, out at NASA, they've got like even the engine right next to it,
Yeah.
right out in front of their visitor center. And
Yeah.
it's just a cool thing to see. And
That's the coolest place to be.
one of them, I mean, of course, the Vandenberg Space Force Base, because I saw that rocket take off, and that was a really cool experience. I mean, there's been other places where, you know, it's like, man, I get paid to come out here to like Santa Cruz or Monterey.
Yeah. Like,
you know,
it's lovely in Monterey,
Yeah.
man.
And we
Well, you were at the course today.
Yeah, I was at
Yeah.
Paso Robles.
You in Paso Robles today?
Yeah, I
Was it
was-
raining over there?
Oh,
It was.
All
man.
P-dub.
This one today was a P-dub, or prevailing wage, for those who don't know. Yeah, we get that very, I won't say often, but like normally.
I've had
Yeah.
prevailing wage every single day.
Yeah, and when you get prevailing wage, you get
Are
the
you
check.
P-dub for this today?
Not for this, but
That's
for
a
the
private
Fresno County
college.
job.
In the morning.
Private college.
So in the morning,
No.
but before here,
You guys
it's
make kind of
Friday.
money. You guys both make triple what I make. What are you talking about right now?
Yeah, so you know, it would have been nice, but you know, I already had a PW job that was a quick cakewalk.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
but I mean, gotten to go out to federal prisons and whatnot.
Oh
and, you
yeah,
know,
that was our
like,
first
My
big
dad-
job.
so that was nice. Oh yeah, no,
yeah. No, our first job, big job. Like it was like
Oh,
what
yeah.
the second weekend or maybe.
JJC.
Yeah, Juvenile
Juvenile
Justice
Justice
Center. It was a night job, prevailing wage. The whole weekend.
It was 2 days.
Yeah, it was
2
2
days,
days.
10-hour shifts,
I just remember it was 2 days. But anyways, yeah. So we do the job. You know, we're still getting used to it. And then I think the most I made off an overtime check when I was at my previous job was like $1,700. And keep in mind with those 2 days at that nighttime prevailing wage, when I got the job, I started like on Wednesday.
We started the same day.
Yeah,
so
it was like a Wednesday.
it
So
was
I didn't
like
even have a full
2
check.
Yeah, it was like 2 days before,
Yeah.
and then the 2 days.
The weekend
yeah.
out.
Yeah, and then I get my check, and it was like $2,200.
Yeah.
And this guy right here, I remember it. He goes, I could buy everyone Costco pizza if you guys buy.
Yeah, because that was a Friday, and I'm like,
and our boss.
yo, I'm getting us pizza. Like, we gotta celebrate.
Because I was the same way. I just was like, I don't know. And then our boss kept going like, bro, you can expense that. He's like, don't worry, I got a lot of money.
I got the walking around thing.
Yeah, and then my boss was like, if you want to expense it, you can. And Nick's like, that's all good. I got it. So yeah.
Well, yeah, because it's like, I'm like,
Yeah,
can I do that real
Yeah.
So a lot of our job is, like I said, we're lucky to have our job. And then I think the coolest place is when I did go to the Edwards NASA Air Force Base, and that's when the Blue Devils were practicing. Blue Angels. They were practicing.
Nice.
And it was kind of funny because they're doing their smoke trails, doing whatever, and we were out there. And then whenever they go by do their thing where everyone's working, they go, we're all like, and we see them do it. And when they get out of the view, we're like, okay. Since they're practicing, they do it again and again. And no one, even like the hard ass at our company, he was like,
you got it.
But
oh my god.
And besides there, I think the only other cool place, I mean, it's like just traveling on your own too is just fun. But
and just the being able to expense nice dinners.
Because we've gone to San Francisco.
Right,
we're
eating good.
We're eating
Lobster,
good. Yeah, one of my favorite things too is like now because those things. Because when we because whenever we go out, you get your per diem, but for us it just works a little different. On a credit card, and they reimburse us. So when I'm a little bit low on money, and then I get a 3-day, I'm like, I don't gotta pay for food or gas. I know it's using my car.
I gotta good.
I can stay in the hotel, relax, and just watch TV, be on my phone. So it's just I actually like going out because I don't know, it's nice to just see, and then you're like, damn, I'm here because you want me here.
Right.
Especially off the coast and whatnot. A lot of times when we hit Santa Cruz or Monterey or San Francisco, I like to go sightsee because before this job, I never really been anywhere.
Right.
I'd hardly been out of Fresno. I might have went to LA twice, and then I'd never been to San Francisco. I went to Monterey once and Santa Cruz, and then other than that, I've been in Fresno my whole life. But now I've been able to go to all these places and get paid to a lot of times prevailing wage rate, and then still be able to get a decent hotel, get some good grub, and enjoy the sights. And it's
you guys, have you found yourself being more bougie?
Oh yeah.
Because I am very, very, very lucky with my fiance. Because when I was going to college, I was coming home late, after work and everything. She had hot food ready for me. I told her, I was like, look, I will get you whatever the hell you want. The gifts I've been giving to her have been kind of bougie, I would say. Because I was like, I'll give you whatever you want. But the stuff for myself, funny enough, hasn't changed much. Recently I had these the second generation Apple Watch and the first generation AirPods. And I try to get new stuff. I was like, let me go turn this stuff in, get $5 for it, but then just get the new AirPods. When I gave them that stuff, they're like, all this stuff is actually considered vintage. And they're like, and you can't turn it in, so it's worth nothing. I'm like, ugh. And so I was like, fine, give me the new thing. But I still not crazy with stuff for me. That's the crazy. I'll give it to everyone else, but I haven't been myself more bougie. Just more what I give other people, I would say.
Oh, I've been bougie.
Yeah. This guy over here all the time. He comes he's like, hey, you want a box of 30 fuses? Sure.
Dude,
he goes to the flea market. And he finds the craziest thing. Talking about the high pot, right? Or the Megger?
Dude, I found a Megger, or no, it was technically a high pot at this rummage sale place and everything. I'm like, this is dangerous. Because it did 2,500 volts and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's a high pot just to sit there.
High pot stands for high potential. You can put a lot of voltage.
Yeah.
I think
high voltage, low current. It's a withstand test.
But still, if you touch it,
test set.
If you touch it, you die.
Yeah.
He went to the same.
Yeah. He did touch it, you die.
Don't touch
We know what's going on. You don't know what's going on?
Yeah, that
Who's
was.
touching you guys?
That's probably the one.
It's a
piece of
taser that will
equipment-
kill you.
Yeah.
That's the one piece of equipment that will for sure kill you.
Yeah.
That we have. Like
it was-
a lot of our stuff has safety stuff. Like if there's any current that comes on the ground, then it knows to turn off. With the high pod, I mean, if you want to touch 5,000 for a second, go ahead.
Yep.
Go
Yeah.
ahead, and touch
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Yep.
I'll ask you how it was when they get to heaven.
Yep.
Yeah.
See you on the other side.
Yeah.
Hey, what was it like?
Yeah.
And this piece of test equipment was just sitting there, and it was like last time it was calibrated was like 87.
Oh,
And
nice.
I'm like,
Fresh.
this thing's
Yeah.
and like you could see the insulation cracking at certain points. I'm like, dude, this thing's dangerous. I took it to him, and I'm like, how much is this? Because I actually work for a testing company. Here's my card.
Yeah.
Can I get this for like $20? This thing's dangerous for you guys to even have it out on your shelf.
And did
So
you
they're
get
like,
20 bucks?
no, they were like, oh, it's $130. I'm like, I'm not spending that, but this thing's dangerous. Like, you guys should like put this in the bag or somewhere, or at least like
Probably
maybe cut the
was more than that.
yeah. And then like later on, I went home and checked. It was like, so a decent refurbished one was like $2,500 and whatnot.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
You went back and got that one.
I went back, but they were like, yeah, we're not selling it because of liability purposes.
Because you told me it was
after
dangerous.
that,
Yeah,
I went.
yeah.
I went.
Oh, wow.
Right.
You
Yeah.
screwed yourself.
Yeah.
I know, and after that, I went like, because in the store still, I went like around the corner and everything, and like I had overheard one of the cashier tell one of their like stalker guys like, hey, go ahead and take this in the back and everything. Like this is a because they went and looked it up. And they're
Good on
like,
you.
like this is a
Shoot himself in the foot.
Yeah,
It's like,
that's-
no,
I wanted
him
it.
on a quiz. You know what I mean?
But you got to think about like what idiot might look at it because it looked like it's like probes, like cattle prods on the end of it and everything. And some random guy go, oh hey, look, I want to get this and fuck around with it with my friends and
I
everything.
think it's a power source or some shit.
Yeah, it thinks, oh yeah, it's probably just a cattle prod to like let's
Yeah.
try touching that to ourselves. Like, it's a big taser, it'll be fine.
Yeah. But
It's just in my conscience. I'm like, I don't want because you just plug it in anywhere. And
Somebody's gonna die.
Yeah.
who knows if it works or not? But it
Yeah.
was last calibrated in like 87 or something like that. And it's
Yeah.
like, okay, it either doesn't work, which is good, or maybe it still works and just never got used at a test company or
Light
something like
somebody
that.
up.
Yeah.
That'd be
yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
got
See
it.
it on the
Yeah.
news somewhere. It's like man dies after buying a suspicious
I know, yeah.
piece of equipment from
Nick
the
standing
yard.
outside the room. I told him.
I turned it on for him. Everything. Yeah, I explained it.
I showed him how it worked.
I guess he forgot.
I wrote it down.
I told him not to connect it to his nipples. And he was just
Yeah.
crazy, man. He said, "Don't threaten me with a good time."
Man.
So,
All right. Any last words for any new students looking to join SJVC or current students enrolled?
I would say at least for the enrolled ones, like I told the other ones that are here, you get in what you get out. Like I said, I had trouble.
You get out what you get in.
Get out what you get in.
Very nice.
I'm showing a bad example. But basically, like if you give your time, if you try, do your homework, talk to the teacher, talk to your classmates, you will get good grades. It's not just like, oh, I'm smart, I know what I'm doing. It's definitely just being here. Because a lot of times, especially with me, you had to be here after hours, even after the school was out. You gotta still just keep putting that time in, and even time when you're not in school, just like looking up videos on how something works. I had a lot of questions, even still when I was leaving SJVC, and I would just look up those videos. I mean, I still have my black notebook from here that was like gold to everyone. Someone even stole it one time, and it magically appeared back where it was.
weird.
That happened to a test one time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
But basically, yeah, like and for people who are on the fence about joining, age does not matter. We had Jim.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know how old he was, but
I think he was like 56.
yeah, and
He's
then
like 25.
he's 25.
Yeah.
And then we had
When
his,
Jesus was around.
Yeah.
and then Jesus Rio. That guy, he was the oldest guy in our class with a whole bunch of younger guys, but he was still like cracking jokes the same with all of us, and he was just one of us. There's no fear, I guess you could say. because like I said, my first module, I had a lot of fear, and then that quickly went away once I just started talking to my classmates and the teacher, and maybe it got more fearful actually from that guy. Like I want to mess this up, but yeah, I would just say there's no way you can get hurt from just trying, and then just apply yourself. That's it. You'll do great if you do that. I think that's basically it for me.
Some of my stuff's just gonna like piggyback off of him, so I'm gonna steal that test you were saying, or that notebook. But just don't be afraid to look dumb and ask stupid questions, because a lot of those questions you may have, a lot of other people have too, but some other people are just afraid to ask those questions. And in that stupidity, you can learn a whole lot, and you can work through these issues. So make sure to ask as many questions as you can, because you're only inhibiting yourself from learning whatever you're setting your goal out to like learn. And just do yourself the favor and do as much as you can to devote as much time as you can to learning this trade, because it's only going to benefit you. If you sit here, like he was saying earlier, you're only going to get out what you put in, and there's a lot in that. Just because if you're sitting around not like listening or paying attention, then you're just going to get a certificate. You may pass, but when you get put out in front of an employer that is thinking about hiring you, and they start asking you questions and you fall apart because you don't remember half the things you learned in that class or didn't learn, then that is on you, and you're only robbing yourself out of a great career. This is an awesome opportunity for you to build yourself a decent life. If you told me a year ago that or even like 2 or 3 years ago, that a year out from graduating college I'd be making six figures, I wouldn't have believed it. So you are limited by your own self, and don't put those roadblocks ahead of you, because you are in charge of yourself and your path forward. So I guess that's all I can really say right now. You just got to be determined. You have to want to hold yourself accountable, and you are the one that's in charge of pulling your roadblocks out of the way for yourself.
Yep. And I mean, even after finishing college, only took me a year and a half to finish my student loans just from the job that I got. So don't be scared of that amount. You will get that money back. Yep. And then once you finish that payment, wow, freedom. So
this guy's looking at buying a house. So I mean, it's crazy.
But don't be scared.
And you earned it, man. So it's like if you put in the effort, you're gonna earn a whole lot more than what you could have ever imagined. So
I wanna hit on that right now, and this is I don't know, this is to my students right now, and I want you two to answer. I get a lot of students currently right now, and then probably in the future. They hear about the dollar signs. They hear about how good it can be when you're out there and applying yourself. My thing is, it's having the mindset before you ever got paid $1.
Of course.
And how important that is, where it's like they're putting in late nights and working and reading books way before you even got paid one single cent. And it's like people want the biscuit. They just don't want to have to cook it. And that's my problem. We have issues right now. It's like everyone hears about the money, so they come running. I want to be an electrician. This is not for everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because for every two of you, how many are there that didn't make it?
Oh yeah. But a lot of that comes back to just being determined and not having the right mindset. I mean, to loop back into another topic that we were talking about earlier, you have to be. Oh man, what was I thinking earlier? I lost my train of thought.
I would just say, I mean, I guess for the money part, I mean, I put in a lot. Like, it wasn't the money came immediately. I put in a lot. I mean, I still look up the same videos to make sure I can explain things the right way. And honestly, one of the biggest things I always do is like try to just say stuff out loud I know who people know it, to prove that like I can say it in a social setting. And that's not from just getting my 8 hours and then going home. That's like learning 24 hours a day, like going to bed and thinking of electricity, how I could have figure that stuff out better. So yeah, you get out what you get in. There we go. But it's just the money will come, but
the money will come faster for those more driven. I would say that.
Yeah. If you're driven, you'll get the money. Don't worry about the money. But if you're only focused about the money, then
That's the problem.
And see, now that I got my train of thought back, what we were talking about earlier is like you were saying that we were applying ourselves way before we had gotten paid 1 cent. And that kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier. You got to kind of act the position above you,
right?
Because you have to rise to the occasion.
Absolutely.
So, do you want to go out there and still be a student, or do you want to be out there and be the next level above you? You can't be a journeyman electrician if you're acting like an apprentice all the time.
Right.
You have to sit there and constantly improve your knowledge on whatever you're dealing or whatever you're trying to learn. You have to be constantly honing your trade to become that industry leader, and you don't get that with just sitting around and sitting in a classroom going, when am I gonna get through this class? It's taking too long.
Right.
I hate this subject. I'm never gonna learn it. That kind of mentality is never gonna get you anywhere. There's a lot of like subjects that I was kind of dreading just because I was scared I wouldn't understand it. But I applied myself and kept taking one step closer to the point to where I could actually understand a certain subject, and I felt so much better about it. So you got to start acting like the person you want to be and not the person that you were up to this point.
Absolutely.
It's great that you are now in this position because you are getting this opportunity, but now it is on you to sit there and become the person that you were meant to be, and that your family needs you to be, and that your friends need you to be, your kids need you to be. So, yeah.
Perfect. Hey, thank you guys. Oh, go ahead.
Power systems testing for all your preventive maintenance needs, which Hubert talks about a lot. Preventive maintenance.
We do.
Do you do reactive maintenance or do you do preventative maintenance? We do preventative maintenance. Power systems testing coming in. 4688 West Transfer Avenue, Suite 105. Phone number is
accredited company.
Yeah, phone number is 559-275-2171. Thank you very much.
We are both volunteers.
Hey, and lastly, speaking of those, you guys have your Department of Defense accreditations, right? You guys are
for a couple different
to get on bases and stuff.
Oh yeah.
The background's important.
Yep, we got that.
I got another one now. I got to fill out too.
Yep. So I mean, we got those. We have certifications and different things. We just got our infrared scanning certification. We went and did a class recently on that. There's more that we're gonna do. We're now level 2 NETA technicians. So.
Oh, it's good.
No, I feel like that went pretty well. There's times where it's like I kind of.
I was aware. I started yelling.
I was laughing, bro.
I know.